You all know by now, because of my several videos and internet articles of many people, that Hindus were very different from any other races in the world. Only race in the planet who talked about cyclic time. Not just that, it went on creating 7,000 years of continuous literatures from Rig-Vedas, early Rig-Vedas period, Rig-Veda periods to Chandogya Upanishad and the Chandra Shastra, so many. And even in the 15th, 16th centuries, you find different structures of rhythms. Even in the 21st century, Pandit Yasraj came and blended two different kinds of ragas to create new kind of rhythmic fusion in the mind. That's why I cannot ever forget the mathematics that Yashraj introduced. That one raga goes on and then other raga comes in. So blending different things such that two different rhythms goes to your brain and a hyper state is generated. That's the founding principles of many different kind of instruments, Hindu musical instruments that I play ta. So I press the fundamental note. Higher level notes are generated from the instrument, goes to your mind, and you mathematically calculate the fundamental note and feel the bliss of it. So this has been kind of the fundamental grammar of musical sense to create a hyper state, and then you simulate it in your brain. So synchronization of the instrument of the brain with the vibrations of the universe. So the question is, why Hindus created this time cycle, why they came up with, and what are the irrefutable evidence that they were not talking nonsense. It was not just a philosophy. It was something far beyond just philosophy, and it was some serious science from the origin of universe to the fundamentals of tensor mathematics and several others. So I will make you journey today for the serious part of it, starting from Nāṣadīya Sūkta. Ṛg-veda 10.129, Nāṣadīya Sūkta. So you all know about it. So I do not want to get into details, but listen to that particular thing. That one breathed windless with its own impulse. So universe was cyclic. So it is saying, God, where were you before the creation? So everybody talks about this. So many PhD papers have been written, research articles have been published that Hindus used to challenge the existence of God. But what you miss is this particular part when they are saying that this cyclic way of creating universe in the same Nāṣadīya Sūkta is executed by its own impulses. And this is where the Rita was defined. So Rita comes from that fundamental pulses that allows the universe to operate like an automaton. It is voidless. It is like a breathing. Of course, you know breathing of Brahma, but breathing of Brahma concept came several thousands of years later. I'm talking about the Nāṣadīya Sūkta, early Vedic era, when that kind of richness of the philosophy was not there. Very primitive. As I said, 2, 3, 5, 7, 4 primes were there, and it flooded the Vedic culture at that time. Later, complex primes came, and then that dominated, and then you build up to 109. But those things were not in pre-Vedic eras. Similarly, if you want to understand the origin of Hinduism, if you want to fall in love with Hinduism, you have to get back to Rig Vedas and what they are talking about. 4 primes, 2, 3, 5, 7. Rita. In the Nāṣadīya Sūkta, when they are saying breathing, it means the pulse that goes up, frequency modulation, and then goes down, 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 down. And then again, up. So there is one rhythm that is the universe's own beating. And then one rhythm is of the cycle of its life form. So Rita is not alone. Rita is not alone. It holds a waveform of the universe, its own cycle. that is there. And because it gets finiteness, as you know, I've told many times, Purusha is mathematical, it's geometric and mathematical. When it comes to Prakriti, then it gets corrupted. So Purusha thinks it's a great liability. So beautiful stories are there. And then in 20th century, 21st century, Hinduism is not dead, by the way. It was never dead. It will never be dead because of the people. Several people are working continuously to understand and expand it. And you are listening to this video. The reason is how many few people are listening to this video doesn't matter. One Shankaracharya came and changed the world. So for people like us, we study, create the material and build it for you. Who knows, some of you or one of you could be that Shankaracharya. In Hinduism, we do not prohibit for you to become the God. You can, you are, you can be. Who knows who has got the real Aadhar, real path to be that beautiful creature who can change the whole discourse and bring new fundamental thoughts. So now, getting back, Rita is not alone. So you understand this quite well, that when you are putting it in a pot, you are making it finite. I told many times, but I will tell many times in future also. When you put a set of vibration in a cavity, then boundary conditions apply. And when boundary condition apply, several restrictions are generated on the energy spectrum of the waveform that is generated inside that pot. So what happens is, on top of a waveform that is the pure fundamental cycle, that is Rita, in the universe, in the cosmic cycle by which the universe get created and it runs, another additional waveforms form. But this birth of the new rhythm, to restrict it in a space, starts giving formation of an evolution of life and evolution of universe, evolution of many different things afterwards. But that was the beginning point, the birth of Rita from the Rita. In Samkhya philosophy, time is not a separate tattva. Yes, it's not a fundamental element that created this universe. In Sankhya, time emerged when Purusha met with Prakriti. So, in the mathematical structure of the universe, you cannot create time, but it happens when first the mathematical structures embed into a cavity, as I discussed earlier. So you can, if you want to read details, you can go to Samkhya philosophy. Now I would like to say three things about time that is very fundamental in the entire 6,000, 7,000 years of discourse of Hinduism. The first thing is that cyclic or cyclicity, that everything in the universe wants to complete a cycle. So you take a sphere under, that is always there. Anda will come every time in every different aspects. Brahma was a anda, Brahmanda, that's why we call it Brahma's egg or anda. So teardrop to ellipsoid pattern is always used to happen. Asru, that is tears, and because it falls like the sperm, and then ovam is like a ellipsoid. So this kind of transformation, morphogenesis, you will find as derivatives of Purusha before you reach towards to the Prakriti. So before you have a fusion with Prakriti, you have this kind of morphogenesis or geometric transformations. Now the second concept about time is that when you put it on a sphere, there are some holes, dark holes make some holes on a hollow sphere, and then you put another sphere into that. When you make another sphere, it is completely different from any concept of time or related thing that was conceptualized by any civilization in the world. It's very fundamental to Hinduism. They call it Loka, or different universe. So people say that Hindus talk about multiverse, Hindus talk about alternate universe. Analogy is there, but mathematically when you see it, it's much more original and much more profound. You cannot find any analog anywhere in the Western science. When you are putting a hole and then you inserting it, one loka to another loka, look at the description. I have created one entire video on the description on how one loka to another loka you can make a journey. Huh? The beautiful things are there. You have to do sankalpa. Sankalpa is a different thing. Synchronization with kalpa is sankalpa. So, so you have to some is the Sanskrit word. Synchronization is the English word. Okay, don't fight with it. So, and you have a lotus. That's why symbol of Hinduism is lotus. Each leaf is a other universe, and make the journey. The journey is consciousness, not the source, not the destination. The journey is consciousness. So now you see that when we have a big spheres and we are embedding another spheres, we go to one loka to another. That means host surface to the guest surface, or guest surface to guest to host. Guest surface becomes a host and it's a host. So these three layer, Suksma Loka, Yohaloka, and Devaloka or Paraloka or whatever. Three different layers as a unit it operates. You have to take that one. And when you do that, the journey is not the higher dimension. So there is a difference between higher dimension and hyper dimension. Higher dimension is X, Y, Z. So you have line, you have area, you have volume, you have time. This is higher dimension. Everything could be classical, absolutely classical. But when you have hyper dimension, this is X real, imaginary X's. That means it doesn't exist anywhere, but from there it affects the reality. That is hyper dimension. So now this loka, one loka to another loka is hyper dimension. Time definition changes, unit of time changes, everything changes. And that's why, what happened to Revati. I have created a separate video on Revati, that Revati went to another loka and then came back. So this particular definition of time has, or Kala-Chakra has three different things. First is Rita, that you find everywhere from the pre-early Vedic era. You find this concept of Loka in Vedas many times, and how the journey happens you can find in Mahabharata. So Revati story is from Mahabharata. What happens? You make the Sattavata Brahmana in 1000 BC. Also, you will find 1200 or 1500 BC, somewhere around, or maybe much earlier, because these are the time scales created by the British, and what they wanted to do. So Sattavata Brahmana and many other topic where journey, how to make a journey, or how alternate reality, particular king Lavana used to live a single life in different time scales, different definitions of things. So basically, you are creating a superposition of multiple different time cycles. How is that? This is, you can say, third fundamental concept of Kalchakra. So third fundamental concept is that suppose you have 6 clocks, okay, 6 periodicities of 6 different lokas. How can you put them together? So you can have 2 clocks, and on say a big clock, you have 2 clocks, and on top of each of them you put 3. So 3 into 2, 6. Or on a big sphere, you can have 3 spheres, and you put 2 clocks on each of them. So it becomes 6 clocks. So there are 2 choices. So you can imagine a big sphere of Lokantara, Kala-Chakra. So Kala-Chakra is not just a time cycle. The problem is when Buddhists started copying, because they didn't have anything original. So when they started copying Kala-Chakra or time cycles from Hindus, they took only the 4th dimension. That is cyclicity, because it was widely popular. But among the scholars that went on, it was singularity, Lokantara Jatra, and then there was another one from the Sankhya philosophy, and then Lavana story. So many different stories are there, which Puranic stories, that is very old time, where they used to describe the philosophy of structuring and events of the universe in a very unique manner. As a cognitive function and other things. So in that case, the 6th dimension is you create an imaginary, this Kala-Chakra, this Bhairav, we can say Kalabhairava, and on this Bhairav you put one way of writing 6, another way of writing 6 face to face each other. But if you take 12 clocks, then you will have 8 different possibilities on this Bhairava. So Kalabhairava is the imaginary another sphere, not the fifth sphere of fifth dimension. In the sixth dimension, you have another fifth sphere from which all alternate possibilities embed together, coexist, like superposition and entanglement. So what we learned today is Kala-Chakra, or time cycle of Hindus, is not just cycle, not just stupid cycle or just cycle, just like you see in Buddhism. First of all, you have to put it on a under, and then you put the circle. So that's the first thing, differentiation between Hindu concept of time cycle and Buddhist concept of time cycle. Here, fourth dimension is on a sphere. You have to put different diameters of cycles. In the fifth dimension, you have singularity, black holes, and then spheres communicate with each other with a hyper dimension. Now, that is imaginary worlds. Many kind of imaginary worlds are locals. The sixth dimension in the Kalabhairava. So you have the back big spheres, and then you put all possible combinations of the clocks, all possible combinations of Brahmandas. And Vishnu is at the center of this with an Ananta Sajja, where all the possibilities are going up and down in a toroid shape. So that is what Shiva, that's why Shiva needed 108 dance forms to dance and explain how it will happen. So Changshat Yogi and Changshat Yoginis, I have created separate videos for that. So that those are all born from Shiva's Nataraja dance when he was fighting with Brahma in Varanasi. So welcome and thank you for watching.